Alrighty, the day has finally come, and chances are people are clicking on videos this morning looking for the answers to the most insane election that has ever taken place in the history of probably all of our time. And that is who won, Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. So I actually have the election results at the end of this video, but because it's predominantly a Canadian channel that covers Canadian topics, we're going to be looking at all things Canadian up until that point. So if you're just looking for the result elections, skip ahead to the end of the video. But if you'd like to stick around and hear about how Danielle Smith is suing the federal government for putting a emissions cap, but I guess specifically suing Justin Trudeau, which is also going to cut 120,000 jobs based off Trudeau's crazy green agenda, then you might want to stick around. Or if you also want to hear about the fact that Justin Trudeau's $9 million condo that he bought in New York, and the guy that was like a part of that, he just testified in committee and was called out for lying, you may want to stick around for the full video, as well as a couple other smaller stories. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage y'all to smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet already. It does really help grow the channel. And I do want to apologize for my voice. I'm still fighting this cold. I'm doing my best, but it should only be a voice like this for a couple more days. Now let's get into what's going on here. So of course you've got Canada watching US news, sticking their head out the window with snow, eating a bag of Lay's ketchup chips, which, by the way, for those who don't understand this reference, you can't buy ketchup chips in like most of America. In fact, most Americans don't know what ketchup chips are, which is absolutely incredible. And you guys are missing out. But hey, let's start off with the polls as we normally do for Canada. For Canada, folks, Pierre Poilievre sitting at 215 projected seats with a bottom line of 189, topping at 240. He still only needs 172 for a majority, so he's looking good right there in the polls. Justin Trudeau somehow clawing his way up out of the 50s into the 60 seat projection. The Bloc still at 44, and Jagmeet has gone above the 20s and he's at 22. But when you look at the actual percentage of winning the most seats, Conservatives still have 99%. And for odds of winning a majority government, still 99% likely. So even though there's some changes, it's still looking extremely favorable for Pierre Poilievre. Now, I normally like to start off with like some crazy, either, good news, maybe Justin Trudeau fell down or he got heckled, but we're not going to do that because of just the time and like the day in the month and how it's Veterans Week. I want to start off with this story because it's actually extremely alarming. So people are stealing donation boxes from the Legion in Edmonton, which is just horrible. Let's take a look at this.
The Norwood branch of the Edmonton Legion says 2 poppy donation boxes have been stolen over the past few days, something that happens every year. For some locations armed with newer technology, it's become a thing of the past. David Owasik explains.
It seems to happen every year before Remembrance Day, thieves targeting poppy donation boxes. It happened this week again at 2 Shoppers Drug Marts, one Sunday, another Monday, the Norwood Legion's past president says. It is such a hassle each remembrance season that organizers have contemplated making the donor boxes much more sturdy and hard to take.
We've had talk of metal boxes and locking them up, but I mean, the cost would be prohibitive.
But Greg Lasky confirms something relatively new seems to be making a difference.
In the past couple of years, I believe there was a commercial donor somewhere nationally, and there are like 1,000 tap boxes that are available Canada-wide, and we have those distributed in some locations in the city.
Down on
Right. So going to buy poppies and things like that, and just that small little act with the Legion, it actually helps a lot. And as a veteran, I have access to Legion's help. In fact, that's something I actually had to use right when I got medically released from the military and I moved into a van because I had no other option. I had absolutely no money. I was like really, really, really down on my luck. And the Legion was there to help me with, gift cards for groceries to the superstore and whatever that petrol gas station is attached to the superstore mobile, I think it was like one of those things. And so that was all provided by the Legion. So it definitely does go to help veterans. But I recommend, if you haven't already, certainly go out and show your support and get yourself a poppy, because you never know where that money is going to go. It likely will be going to help a veteran down on their luck at some point. And then let's take a look at this story here, where Danielle Smith is slamming the federal government for cutting back on emissions, actually putting a cap on it, which what she's calling as a deranged vendetta against Alberta, which, again, to reiterate, is going to cut over 112 or 120,000 jobs, which is why she's suing the federal government, or suing Justin Trudeau.
Good evening. Alberta's premier isn't mincing words when it comes to the federal government's plan to cut oil and gas emissions. The premier calls it a cap on production and jobs that will lose Alberta billions. Shailen Skalski reports.
I'm pissed. I'm absolutely angry.
Alberta's premier did not hold back, reacting to Ottawa's latest draft regulations on greenhouse gases.
This is not responsible policy. This is a vendetta. Like, he has a deranged vendetta against Alberta. It's very obvious. We've been watching it for some time. He's trying to find a way to get around what the Constitution says.
Last month, Alberta made a move with a $7 million advertising campaign to scrap the cap.
They will continue doing stupid things, and we will continue focusing on helping Canadians to create a robust economy.
Canada's Environment Minister calls the campaign hot air and disinformation.
Whether it's Pierre, whether it's Danielle Smith, whether it's Scott Moe, pretending that climate change isn't happening in the face of mounting climate impacts.
After 2 years of consultations, Ottawa announced a cap on oil and gas emissions it says the sector should be able to achieve, with a plan to cut emissions 35% below 2019 levels before 2032.
This net zero narrative being driven by anti-energy activists whose entire goal is to shut down oil and gas.
This cap has been designed very carefully to...
I also want to add that, like, the largest electric, supporter, I suppose, Elon Musk himself, who owns Tesla and has created it into a $1 trillion business, right? Where it's like one of the biggest American car manufacturer, if I'm not mistaken. Even he has said it's bad for everybody all at once right now to switch off of gas to electric. It doesn't make any sense. We don't have the infrastructure. It's just not feasible. Yet somehow the government, people have no idea what they're talking about, are saying, let's make the switch immediately. It just goes to show how nonsensical this is.
Avoid any kind of impact on production. It actually allows for an increase in production.
The executive director of the Pembina Institute calls the regulations realistic and necessary for Canada to remain competitive. Alberta's premier disagrees, adding she is actively exploring every legal option, including use of the Sovereignty Act.
Think of it as a notwithstanding clause on illegal federal action.
A meaningless thing. All it does is reverse the onus. You're in the same court case having the same arguments regardless.
The regulations are to come into effect January 2026. Shailen Skalski.
And so because of that, you have Alberta, specifically Danielle Smith, who's launching a lawsuit on the federal government, specifically Justin Trudeau. And here to talk about that on the receiving end is radical environmental minister Harry Potsmoker, or his actual name is Stephen Guilbeault. Here we go.
Now, Premier Smith is promising to take your government to court over this because, again, even if you are targeting the emissions and the pollution here, they say the practical impact will be on production. Are you confident this will win in court?
Yes, we are, absolutely. As I told you earlier, we anticipate by 2030 that the production in the sector is going to increase by 16%. So I'm not sure I followed the Premier here saying that it's going to lead to production cut when we're actually showing that production will increase.
Mm-hmm. Now, in your news conference today, you said that Alberta does stupid things, and in response to that, we heard the Premier accuse you of having a, quote, deranged vendetta against Alberta. What do you say to that?
I said that conservative leaders in Canada are playing stupid games when it comes to climate change. They're pretending that climate change isn't happening. Just for this summer, Michael, $7 billion in climate damage, the worst year ever. And that's just 2 months of 2024, not the entire year. And Canadians are paying for that all across the country. Atmospheric rivers in British Columbia, forest fires in Jasper, Fiona on the East Coast, heat waves. climate change is real, it's happening, and as a responsible government, we're putting in place a plan to ensure that we can fight climate change, that we can invest in the Canadian economy, and we can create good jobs. Conservatives leaders like Pierre Poilievre and Premier Scott Moe and Premier Smith are pretending that climate change isn't even real, and that's why I say they're playing a very dangerous game with the livelihood of Canadian, with the future, not just the economic future, but what kind of planets will we leave to our kids and grandkids? We have a moral obligation to act, and unfortunately, they're failing on that obligation.
Yeah, I don't think anyone buys it. I think that he's just been huffing his own farts for a little bit too long. But this has gotten so out of control that even the Canadian Senate is chiming in to talk about this. Let's take a look at what they've got to say here.
Senator Usakos.
Senator Gold, after 9 years of Justin Trudeau, not only does everything cost more, but this country is going through the worst decline in living standards in 40 years, the worst housing inflation, the worst drop in per person income, and the worst economic growth in the OECD. At the same time, $500 billion in Canadian investment has gone to the U.S. versus the other way around. Canadian businesses are fleeing to the U.S. to escape your government's economic vandalism, and they're taking Canadian jobs with them. Even Mr. Trudeau's top economic advisor, Carbon Tax Carney, won't do business here. He's making life more expensive for Canadians with sweeping powers he's been given by your government, but the investment firm that he is chairing is now leaving Toronto for greener pasture in New York City. Imagine that, Senator Gold. Hard-working Canadians don't have anywhere else to go, Senator Gold. It's unfortunate, but a reality. Why won't your government at least let them go to the polls? Why won't you call an election so the Canadian public can give you a report card?
Senator Gold.
Well, Senator Usakos, the preambles sometimes vary. Your question is always the same, but my answer is going to be the same. This government it will continue to do its best to help Canadians and to service Canadians. There is important work that needs to be done. We're doing it here in the chamber with a number of important government bills that are moving through our process. It is regrettable that things in the other place are stalled, but the government will continue to work hard for the benefit of Canadians.
Senator Usakos.
Senator Gold, it's not good enough. Actually, your government's doing nothing. Just colleagues, look at the scroll. Look how much government business this government's doing. Business investment per worker in Canada is barely half that in the United States. Our GDP per capita is smaller than it was a decade ago, while the American economy is up 8% just over the last 5 years. It is no wonder that Carbon Tax Carney is now pulling his money out from this country. Meanwhile, your government now announces another crippling policy for Canadians by putting a cap on oil and gas production at the expense of already struggling families. It is unbelievable your government doesn't get your actions are killing Canadians.
Senator Gold.
I believe there's also a statistic that's been floating around that Alabama is more rich than all of Canada, or to put it other ways, Canada is poorer than the singular state of Alabama. I'm only laughing because if I wasn't, I might be crying. That's pretty sad.
Senator Usakos, first of all, it is not a cap on production. So please, at the very least, you're entitled to your opinion, you're entitled to your partisanship, which you celebrate. No, the facts are that you have that again, and with the greatest of respect, you have perhaps unwittingly said something that is not, in fact, true. The cap on energy is not a cap on production; it's a cap on emissions.
Yeah, I think that that they all need a bit of a reality check, and the closer that we get to an election, the closer it is for them actually getting that reality check. But again, that's my own personal opinion, and I would absolutely love to know yours. And then we definitely have to move on to Justin Trudeau's condo. Larry Brock, Conservative MP Larry Brock, Uncle Brock, actually brought in Mélanie Joly to testify on this. Let's take a look.
Were you ever briefed on the condo purchase from June 17th when your top official, your chief of staff, became aware a government document identified Clark as being instrumental and gave the green light?
Est-ce que Pierre Poilievre vous a demandé?
Pierre Poilievre, he asked us the same question 3 times. Maybe I'll give 3 different answers.
What else is your chief of staff keeping from you, and by extension, you, Minister, keeping from Canadians?
I think Canadians expect us to invest in the relationship, that we have value for our money, and that all the processes are followed.
Were you ever briefed on the...
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know about that. A lot of people are under the impression, including this exchange that happened in question period, that there's a little bit more to the story than meets the eye when it comes to that $9 million condo.
The Liberals' $9 million cover-up of their luxury condo purchase in New York City is now unraveling. Newly uncovered government documents show that the Prime Minister's media pal, Tom Clark, lied before a parliamentary committee. He had previously said that he didn't weigh in on the purchase, but now we know he in fact said that it required urgent replacement. After 9 years of these NDP Liberals, they're not worth the cost, the corruption, or lies from their insiders. So will the Prime Minister fire his buddy Tom Clark for lying to Canadians?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister for Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I just went to the OGO committee and I answered all his questions for an hour, and we've been talking about this issue. First and foremost, we have good value for money in this transaction. $7 million will be refunded. Second, all the process were, of course, followed. And finally, we don't fall into the character assassination that he's doing about an important consul. But not only that, at the time of the U.S. election today, when all Canadians are looking down south to see what's going to happen, we need to invest in the American-Canadian relationship, and that's exactly what we're doing, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member from Leeds Grenville, Thousand Islands and Vito Lakes.
These economic vandals bought a $9 million condo in Manhattan for the Prime Minister's buddy, and they're subsidizing his rent to the tune of $40,000 per month after doubling rents for Canadians, doubling mortgages for Canadians, and presiding over a country for 9 years with homeless encampments springing up under bridges in communities from coast to coast to coast. If that's not bad enough, Canadians are lined up at food banks in record numbers. 25% of Canadians don't know where their next meal is coming from. If they won't fire Clark for lying, will they fire him for blowing $9 million?
Oh my goodness.
The Honourable Minister for Foreign Affairs.
Apparently, Mr. Clark was good enough for the Conservative when he was moderating their leadership race, but that's another issue.
Good enough at blowing.
What I want to say today
Sorry,
is
$9 million.
looking down south to see what's going on and to take act of the will of the American people. We will invest in the relationship between Canada and the U.S., contrary to what the Conservatives want to do. And of course, we won't take the recommendation of having an official residence outside of Manhattan. Why? Because only 2 countries in the world do so, Bangladesh and Afghanistan, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that the Liberals won that exchange, but that's my own opinion. And I'd love to know what you guys have to say down below in the comments. And then, of course, it wouldn't be Canadian politics, specifically with the Liberals, if they didn't bring up abortion. Let's take a look at this.
Look, I'm not going to speak about the U.S. election right now, but what I will say is we've already seen women's rights move backwards in the United States. There are many states in the United States that have taken away a woman's right to choose, taken away a woman's right to access health care and her right to an abortion, and we've seen the shocking consequences of that with women who have both almost lost their lives and lost their lives. And in Canada, we should not be ignorant to the fact that that is exactly what many members of the Conservative Party of Canada want to do here. In fact, the Campaign Life Coalition has stated that there is not a single MP that is pro-choice in the Conservative Party of Canada. So not for a minute should we expect that.
So these are just fear tactics. Like, they're just trying to create more division with fake news and spreading lies, and it's just atrocious. It has not worked successfully in America, and it's certainly not going to work here. And then for those that missed it, there was this incredible clip of Pierre Poilievre with an interviewer. Just take a look at this. I won't explain anything more.
Whose administration do you think you'll have a better relationship, which will also be better for Canada, Harris or Trump?
Well, I think the question we have for Canadians is which would be the better administration for our own country, Poilievre or Trudeau? And obviously the answer is poilievre. After 9 years of Trudeau with 3 different presidents, remember he had Obama, Trump, and Biden. What has happened? $450 billion of our investment money has poured out of Canada into the United States. We used to get more U.S. investment from them than they got from us, and now that is reversed. $500 billion of our investment dollars building mines, pipelines, businesses that pay American workers. I want our money back. So my number one priority.
See, Justin Trudeau pretends like he's, stood up to Donald Trump, the big scary Donald Trump when he was president. And the reality is that, not to quote a freaking liberal, but he did not. Canada's been steamrolled. We are now giving more to the US in terms of economic value than what we are taking or getting from America. And I'm not saying that we should be trying to price gouge America, but it should absolutely be fair. Like, our economy is without a doubt insanely struggling, and we are spending all of our money on social programs without the consent of the 40 million Canadians. Like, I wish we had an election today, yesterday, tomorrow, whenever, soon, very, very, very much soon, so we can just stop spending these billions and billions and dozens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars year over year on things that are not properly working. It doesn't make any sense how much money they are burning through. And that's hurting our economy right now, but it's going to hurt my kids when they're trying to grow older and have a life of their own. They're not going to be able to afford a house, not because of the damage that Justin Trudeau is causing and the Liberals are causing right now. That's insane. That's such a amount of time, a buffer amount of time of damage. 9 years to do, 20 years of damage. Like, come on, man. We got to put an end to this immediately. So Pierre Poilievre is, he's been going around saying that he's very pro-Canada and he's going to do what's best for Canada and that he's going to make it fair and we're going to have more money here in Canada and we're going to charge appropriately, but more importantly, pro-Canada. And Justin Trudeau, time and time again, has been proving that he's a global elitist. He's not a nationalist. He's not for Canada.
Whether it's Harris or Trump, is one, to drive a hard bargain with Washington on softwood lumber and on Buy America to get fair and equal access for our construction, lumber, cement, steel, aluminum businesses so that we can get the jobs and the money back. Second, I'm going to cut the taxes and the red tape so that we bring businesses, paychecks, and jobs back to Canada. Right now, Canadian workers make $20,000 less than their American counterparts. They get 55 cents of investment for every investment dollar an American worker gets. Why? Because of Trudeau's destructive economic policies that send our money, jobs, and businesses south. I will be cutting the taxes, balancing the budget, eliminating the red tape, and negotiating a hard bargain so that we can bring home our jobs and our businesses.
Okay. There you go. It seems like we are going to have a next Prime Minister of Canada as an extremely pro-Canadian guy, which is phenomenal. And hopefully that's going to solve a lot of our problems. And now, finally, let's start to take a look at some of the American news. We're going to start off with this weird kind of video that Freeland said on, I think it was the CBC's live stream last night during the election, warning Canadians about the American election. It's absolutely ridiculous, but here we go. Let's take a look at this.
For having me on tonight, and I have heard a lot of people talking about their anxiety on your show, and so I do just want to start by saying I know a lot of Canadians are anxious, but I really want people to be reassured, and I want Canadians to know that no matter what Americans choose tonight, Canada will be just fine. I would even say more than fine. I think there is no country in the world better positioned to have an excellent relationship with the United States and better positioned to thrive no matter who Americans choose. So hang on to that tonight as you're watching the results, okay? It's their choice, but we are going to be great no matter what.
Okay, well, that's fair. Absolutely.
I don't think anybody was saying we're not going to be great, but of course, leave it up to the Liberals to really try to lean on the empathy aspect of it. And then you've got this story. I don't know what else to call it. Democrat Sarah McBride of Delaware to become the first openly transgender person to serve in Congress. Yep. That's right, folks. There is officially a transgender person in American politics, specifically in Congress. So we have that to look forward to, I suppose. But as Canadians, as we get to keep an arm's length away from that, at least for now. And then if you were watching the election kind of unravel in real time, chances are you would come across posts like this on X, where Kamala canceled her election speech and she returned home. Now, keep in mind that this is hours before the election was called, hours before there was any real indicator. I mean, it was heavily swaying in Trump's favor, but before there was any real indicator as to who was the clear official winner. And it got so bad that, I mean, even part of her team literally said that she is going home.
So you won't hear from the vice president tonight, but you will hear from her tomorrow. She will be back here tomorrow to address not only the HU family, not only to address her supporters, but to address the nation. So thank you. We believe in you. May God bless you. May God keep you. And go HU and go Harris. Thank you all. So you...
Yeah, that's not how a winner acts. I'll tell you that for free. And finally, the moment that everyone has likely been waiting for, whether you've skipped to this part of the video or whether you've watched the entire thing, Donald Trump is the 47th president of the United States.
America has given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate. We have taken back control of the Senate. Wow, that's good. And the Senate races in Montana, Nevada, Texas, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, were all won by the MAGA movement. They helped so much. And in those cases, every one of them, we worked with the senators. They were tough races. And I mean, the number of victories in the Senate was absolutely incredible. And we did tele-rallies. We did tele-rallies with each one of them. And sometimes we did 2 or 3 and it was amazing to look at all of those victories. Nobody expected that, nobody. So I just wanted to thank you very much for that. And you have some great senators and some great new senators. And it also looks like we'll be keeping control of the House of Representatives. And I want to thank Mike Johnson. I think he's doing a terrific job. Terrific job. I want to also thank my beautiful wife, Melania, First Lady. Who has the #1 best-selling book in the country. Can you believe that? Oh, no, she's done a great job, works very hard to help people. So I just want to thank her. But I want to thank my whole family, my amazing children, and they are amazing children. Now, we all think our children are amazing. Everybody here thinks their children are amazing, but that's a good thing when you think they are. But Don, Eric, Ivanka, Tiffany, Barron, There's Laura, Jared, Kimberly, Michael. Thank you all. What a help. What a great. My father-in-law, Victor, is tremendous, and we miss very much Melania's mother, Amalia. We miss Amalia, don't we, huh? She would be very happy right now, standing on this stage. She'd be so proud. She was a great woman, that one. Beautiful inside and out. She was a great woman. I want to be the first to congratulate our great, now I can say, Vice President-elect of the United States, J.D. Vance. And his absolutely remarkable and beautiful wife, Usha Vance. And he is a feisty guy, isn't he? You know, I've said, go into the enemy camp, and you know the enemy camp is certain networks, and a lot of people don't like this. Sir, do I have to do that? He just goes, okay. Which one? CNN, MSDNC? He'll say, all right, thank you very much. He actually looks fine. He's like the only guy I've ever seen. He really looks forward to it, and then he just goes and absolutely obliterates them. Say a couple of words.
Well, Mr. President, I appreciate you allowing me to join you on this incredible journey. I thank you for the trust that you placed in me. And I think that we just witnessed the greatest political comeback in the history of the United States of America. And under President Trump's leadership, we're never going to stop fighting for you, for your dreams, for the future of your children. And after the greatest political comeback in American history, we're going to lead the greatest economic comeback in American history under Donald Trump's leadership.
There you go, folks. It's official. Donald Trump was the 45th and now the 47th president of the United States. America is safe. America is going to be great again. Canada, on the other hand, is going to inherit probably a big chunk of the 18 million people that Trump plans to deport immediately when he takes office January 20th. So I, for one, am a little bit on board with building a wall between Canada and America, but that's a topic for another day. If you like this video, I hope you guys drop a like, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys later on for more updates. Bye for now.